Well, we're back once again for a look at the models and what the outcome may be for the upcoming Christmas period. Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It's the 21st of December, and of course, it is the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And the shortest day of the year certainly hosted a day barely above freezing across Scotland in particular, and with the sun now set, the temperatures are going to fall away pretty sharply indeed. Now, there isn't really much in the way of snow cover, but that being said, clear skies, light winds, and dry air in place. With these temperatures already, we could see minus 10 in some areas this evening. So, certainly the coldest night of the season thus far, and of course, it is still early in the winter period overall. But so yeah, chilly night indeed coming up, and chilly days coming up as well, of course. Um, so, is there the possibility, believe it or not, of the models now starting to kind of come to some sort of agreement when it comes to the solution for the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day scenario? I believe we may be starting to see the models coming together now to kind of really somewhat pinpoint where we're going with the whole Christmas scenario in terms of snowfall. I'm starting to sway more and more towards a cold Scotland and the dividing line being over England and Wales, possibly Ireland as well, in terms of rain, sleet, and snow. It is getting to the point now, I think, where things are starting to come together quite nicely. So let's have a look at the GFS. This is the latest GFS run, and this is, of course, the overview chart, which incorporates precipitation, cloud, temperature, and pressure. It's a good way of looking at the overall picture. So, of course, we've got the area of low pressure, pretty deep area of low pressure at that, at 956 millibars, spinning over the North Atlantic. All the while, of course, we've got the cold air building over Europe, and that is going to start to kind of infiltrate its way southwards with high pressure over Iceland and of course, high pressure over Scandinavia. But you notice here the feature that's been alluded to from video after video of an area of low pressure that is essentially going to be dropping southwards as we go through the next several days. So as that area of low pressure over the Atlantic winds up, it throws the first of a series of boundaries, frontal systems, into the UK later tomorrow after the cold start. Tomorrow morning we get the first frontal system from that area of low pressure moving in. All the while, that area of low pressure centered between two highs, one over Iceland and one over Scandinavia, that drops kind of southwards. And essentially, what that does is it kind of starts to kind of try to push the cold air that's to the north southwards, so it gets it closer to the British Isles, because of course we've had and continue to have high pressure over the UK. That is now starting to lift northwards, and this is where the discussion for the last week or so starts to kind of come into real time. Up until now, it's been, it's all models, it's all prediction, it's all, computer generated scenarios, and now we're starting to physically see these features that we've been speaking about, on the map. And once you get these features on the map, once the actual models pick up on how cold the air is to the north, how mild the air is to the south, how deep the area of low pressure over the Atlantic is, all these things, once they're on the table, folks, the models now start to kind of come into agreement. They start to see the physical weather, atmosphere, and once that takes place, we should start to see better agreement, more alignment. Instead of having a spaghetti chart that's, one model's going, way mild, one model is going away extreme cold, you start to see the lines all coming together beautifully. And that is what we're starting to get to now, I think, because we've got the players on the field and we'll be able to start to see things taking shape. So once that first frontal boundary moves into the UK, we get the wind increase, the rain, we get hill snow. Not a big deal. Nothing to write home about, I don't believe anyway, because I think the snowfall, this basically the freezing level is going to be within the atmosphere anyway. It's going to be a good 3 or 4 thousand feet above the surface here. Of course, we do have freezing temperatures at the surface, but of course, remember that the level at 5,000 feet is above freezing. I was driving through through the Highlands early this morning. There was actually fine drizzle in the air, even though the temperature was reading -5, and that to me was a great illustration of how the air is actually mild quite a bit aloft, but yet the freezing temperature at 2 meters above the ground is really cold, and it's going to be like I say, it's going to start getting interesting because we've got the first system coming through that area of low pressure. Then it has a kind of arm or frontal system that kind of lifts northwards over the British Isles during the course of Thursday, the 23rd. And then as we go through the period here into Christmas Eve, we'll lose that boundary, we'll lose the moisture. And I think what we're going to start to see, folks, is we're seeing this kind of little dip, area of high pressure centered between Greenland and Scandinavia. You follow the isobars. The isobars are coming all the way down through the Northern Isles, and it's edging into the northern portion of the British Isles here, and that is going to set the stage. To me, that's illustrating the fact that we're seeing colder air managing the push south over Scotland here. And then, of course, you keep your eyes on this feature here to the south of this 969 area of low pressure. That is a feature that kind of develops in on itself, but that actually one piece goes into Iberia, the other piece develops a new low, a new center. Notice that here. So if we skip back just a couple of periods here, you notice here that we've got the center of low pressure here to the west of Ireland. We've got this mess of weather here that's approaching the Bay of Biscay, approaching the Iberian Peninsula. But we've actually got a split in that frontal boundary. And what happens is we've got a new area of low pressure that develops to the southwest of the UK. This, folks, is setting the stage for what we're going to see. Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, we've got the development of a new area of low pressure. Where is it though? It's centered further south. That then winds up. We've got plenty of energy associated with that, but we've got the block of cold air further north here. Is that coming north? I don't think it is. I think the area of high pressure, centered just to the north of the mainland of the UK, is going to be strong enough to suppress this area of low pressure from coming north here. So we've got this high pressure center just to the north of the UK. We've got the development of the new low to the south of that, the shield of precipitation that comes up from the south. We've got mild temperatures, 12, 13 degrees possible down in the southwest of England here. But it's as we go up into the Midlands, up into potentially the north of England, much colder air. And as that moisture reaches that cold air, snow is going to break out. And the modelling is seeing that here, folks. Look at that there. 965 millibar low, centred just off the south coast of Ireland. We've got the shield of moisture running into the cold air. We've got a belt of snow. Parts of Ireland, across the Irish Sea, through Wales and the southern Midlands, into the East Anglia. We've got an outbreak of snow during the course of Christmas Day and then the Boxing Day. And I am starting to buy that. So much so that, believe it or not, I may make the call tomorrow in terms of what I keep saying winter, what my Christmas forecast is actually going to be. But notice here, this is a tremendous area of cold air over the north of the British Isles, a decent area of high pressure as well. That is going to keep this area of low pressure over the southern half of the British Isles here. So there's no mild air coming in. I think Christmas is going to be pretty darn cold across the northern half of England, Northern Ireland, and Scotland here. It's looking pretty cold indeed here. Notice here that the area of low pressure gets nowhere near the north of the UK. It gets shunted eastwards. All the while we've got the area of high pressure to the north here. And this, folks, is going to what I thought would happen overall. Then there's an area of low pressure that tries to bring more weather into the UK. What happens to that? It gets deflected to the south once again. And because we've got the block of cold air further north here. Isn't it interesting, folks? Isn't it very interesting how we go from this solution about 10 days ago completely backs off, and now it's coming back to exactly what it said 10 days ago. It's very, very interesting to see that. Even as we press towards the new year, we're still in the cold air once again here. So what a difference 2 or 3 days makes. I'm getting people on YouTube, on Twitter, turning around and saying to me, you got it wrong again. Well, how can you say that you've got it wrong when the event hasn't even happened yet? I'll hold my hands up when when the event happens and there's a low pressure passing to the north of the UK and we're getting whipped by heavy rain and strong winds. I'll be the first one to hold my hand up and say, do you know what? I got it wrong. But don't turn round to me and say that it's wrong when it's about 3 or 4 days out before the actual event. It's crazy. It's social media sometimes, eh? Yeah, I know I sound quite animated, but it's quite infuriating sometimes when you think, do you know what? Go back and see what I've said, and let's wait and see what actually takes place. Then when I'm wrong, you can turn around and say, yeah, you were wrong. Fair dues. So it certainly is an interesting chart, that's for sure. Let's have a look at the 850 millibar temperature chart here, because I'm continuing to ramble on. Planned to only do a couple of minutes in the video, but that is not going to happen when you've got these type of scenarios taking place. So we've got this boundary, northern half of the British Isles, Thursday 23rd of December. That maintains itself. Area of low pressure continues to spin to the west of the UK. Then as we go through the period here, this is Friday 24th, Christmas Eve. Notice here that the area of cold air to the north is sinking its way south. And the development of the new area of low pressure spawns off the original low, and that then sends energy, moisture into the cold air. We see the outbreak of snowfall across the central swathe of England and Wales here. So I think it is going towards that. I think it is. Still can change. I get that. Still a few days out. Still opportunity for this scenario to disappear here, but we'll wait and see what happens here. But certainly, it looks as if the UK is bathed in cold air during the latter half of Christmas Day, and it maintains itself through the remainder of the week here, running up to the new year. Finally, let's have a look at the snow chart here over the next several days here. Of course, this is the frontal system number 1 coming into the northern half of the UK, bringing the high ground snow feature. Then as we skip through later Boxing Day, should I say Christmas Eve, into Christmas Day, into Boxing Day, you notice here that we start to see that swathe of snow across Wales, the South Midlands through Birmingham, into East Anglia. And then as we go through the course of the Christmas to New Year week, we start to see snow becoming a little bit more prevalent, a bit more widespread across the British Isles here in the run up to New Year. So, yeah, it's getting interesting. There's no doubt about that. Keep it right here on YouTube and markhoganweather.com. Please